Hey everyone, welcome back to the Chefpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Andre Hinojosa. I have an exciting guest for you guys today. And before I bring him on the show, I would like to just remind you guys that we love to put out this content and we just ask that you subscribe to the channel, click that like button, share the podcast, share any of our videos actually. And we just really want you to be part of our Chefpreneur community. And so, again, we just thank you so much. And wherever you're listening to this podcast as well, if you're listening on Apple iTunes, if you're listening on, pardon me, if you're listening to this podcast as well on Apple iTunes or on podcast or Spotify or any of your Google Play, apologize, I had to turn down my phone there. We just want, we want you guys to subscribe. Make sure you follow and so you can get notified when we have our podcast. So with that being said, a couple tech glitches, but that's okay. Let's bring up Chef Tad McKellar. And Chef Tad, welcome to the show, my friend. Nice to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Chef Tad, I know you pretty well. I know that you are in Charleston, South Carolina. You are have been a member here of Chefpreneur as well, and we helped you build out your brand. But tell us a little bit about your company. What's the name of it? And just give us a little story about that. And then I'd like to dive into you personally and some of your background.
Yeah, sure. Well, the name of my business is called Southern Hospitality Chefs. I got started with this is more or less a dream of mine. I have been in the restaurant business for 34 plus years and kind of got tired of working the good old 60 plus hour work week and not getting any recognition for it and just being a number. And some things happened throughout my life that, it gave me time to have a little setback. And this is where I felt that, God was leading me and to start my dream, and just looking forward to the journey that God gives me and let people to share my food that gifts that God's given me.
That's awesome, man. And now tell me a little bit more about that. Like tell us about your journey. Like what was your first kind of influence within the culinary field?
Well, I started, at a very young age. My parents were divorced at a young age, and so I started cooking with my mother around the age of 2, and just started always helping out in the kitchen, helping my family, always cooking. My stepfather, would work late nights, so sometimes where I had to come and cook on the grill, and as I kept on going, I kept on cooking, and as I got into college, my roommates loved me because of the fact that that I always cooked. So, and I felt that this is where I was being led to. So I went to school at Johnson Wales, got 2 degrees, which I have associates in culinary arts, and I have a bachelor's in food service management. Got to work at some various places, such as when I got out of school, I worked for Biltmore Estates in Asheville, North Carolina. Got married, and then had the opportunity to work with Wolfgang Puck in downtown Disney. It was a great experience, and worked some other various places. Like I was the executive chef for the Officers Club at Fort Jackson, and another executive chef job I had was at Wellmore Daniel Island, which is a senior living community. And then that's where it led me to, as I gone through all my ups and downs in this business, that it geared me to where I am today, is open up my own business.
That's awesome. And what was your first day officially opening up Southern Hospitality Chefs?
It was March 15th
March 15th.
of this
Awesome.
past
So,
this past year. Yeah.
yeah, less than a year, right? So this coming March will be a nice year little mark for you, which is awesome. And I was reading in your notes before, and I know you pretty well. You were able to, we've helped you build your brand out, and you were
Yes.
able to come out to the Atlanta area and meet us, and we had a great time in the office and did our thing, and really have built something special. I think one of the things, like, I'd like you to dive in a little bit more because I know that you're so passionate about what you guys really stand for in your company, and I want you to dive in a little bit more to that. Like, tell us a little bit more about what Southern Hospitality Chefs is and what does it really focus on?
Well, with Southern Hospitality Chefs, we provide basically a personal chef experience with true, genuine Southern hospitality, and that basically when that comes to Southern hospitality, I mean, I'm talking about, we treat my clients like their family. We want to treat them like they are part of our family, and we wouldn't serve anything that we wouldn't serve our own family. So we serve them with passion. We serve them with high quality food. I try to use a lot of local businesses here in the Charleston community just to keep the Charleston community strong. So it's local butchers, vegetable farmers, seafood, anything local to keep the Charleston community strong, which is a firm believer because I love my community. I love the Charleston. It's a great place to come and visit. It's a great place to live. So I mean, you can't beat Charleston.
No, I love that. No, Charleston is such an amazing area. I have yet to experience it, to be honest, but I've heard nothing but wonders about it, and I can't wait for myself and my wife and possibly my family to go out there and just really kind of experience Charleston. And so much charm, as you're saying. Some of that, it's just that beautiful Southern charm, but at the same time, such an old world kind of classical aspect to Charleston, right? A little bit of that old world kind of influence, just because it's kind of, been around for a long time, right? I mean, the city itself has been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's been there for quite a while. I mean, there's a lot of history in Charleston, a lot of great history with the plantations that we have here. We have the beautiful beaches here in Charleston, but even the old homes in the downtown Charleston area where uh, you see the old Bill Black Disc where they helped to keep the buildings together when they had earthquakes and stuff. So it's kind of interesting to learn. And one
Wow.
great thing to do in Charleston is to come take a tour of the carriage ride tours, which is great because they are great people that definitely talk about the history of Charleston. It's just a great place to come and visit.
I love that. I love that. I mean, there's something very, very peculiar about like some of the older cities like that. I know that Boston has some of that charm, Philadelphia, some of these older cities that have been
Mhm.
around for a long time since, I wouldn't say even from our founding to a degree. It's really, really important for us to keep, I guess you would say, some of that nuance alive. And I think that that's really, again, like as we were developing your brand with you, you really wanted to put that forward. You wanted that Southern hospitality, that Southern charm. You still wanted to have that kind of, I don't want to say old school in a bad way, but like a very classic, Charleston kind of forwarded cuisine, everything local, everything with the highest quality, ingredients and products that you can use. And again, like you said, really utilizing everything from your community, which I think is something that unfortunately is a little lost in some of the larger metropolitan areas because they can't get that deep. And I think that's something that as well separates you. So like, I mean, that's pretty amazing. I wanna ask you a question because there's a phrase that you put on the show notes, or when you do the podcast, we ask you to kind of fill out a little bit of information about you and things like that. And again, I know you pretty well, but just for our listeners and even our viewers, there's this little statement that you have on the bottom, and it says, "I love what you wrote here. Do you mind if I read it?" It's nothing bad.
Sure, please do.
Okay. It says, "With God, my faith, family, and support through Chefpreneur, I will reach my goals." I feel like that's such a good one liner. And, I want to dive in a little bit to your faith because one of the things that I've come to realize is, there's a lot of people within our community of Chefpreneur that are obviously like, love the Lord and really put their faith and trust in Him. And I think it's really easy again um, for us as entrepreneurs and as chefpreneurs to again lose sight at times of what is, you know, where we need to put our faith, right? And not be anxious and things like that. But tell us a little bit about your faith and how that incorporates even in your entrepreneurial journey, as well as you being a chefpreneur and the owner and executive chef of Southern Hospitality Chefs. Like where does your faith fit in and all that?
Well, I mean, if I you know if I wasn't here, I mean, God placed me here for a reason, for a gift, and to honor Him, and to be able to utilize the gifts that God's given me, along with my business, and giving Him all complete control, not only of my business but of my life. That I know through Him I can do anything.
I love that. I love what you said, right? To use your gift that he gave you and to serve other people in that sense and take you on the journey and being obedience. I actually wrote down a phrase on Sunday at church, and I felt like the Holy Spirit prompted it. And it was, we all know the scripture that says that you can, um, basically, in paraphrasing it, you cannot basically please God without faith, right?
Right.
And then I really felt the Holy Spirit showed me there's a level of obedience. When you're stepping into being obedient to God, it actually requires faith. So you need faith to be obedient, because he's going to call you. He's going to call you into not only situations, but he's going to call you into things in your life that are going to be uncomfortable. But then you really know that he's telling you to do it. And it's like it's always out of our comfort zone, right? He never really gives us anything in our comfort zone. And even before the show a little bit, and this is something that I knew about you before, but even before the podcast, we were talking a little bit, and you were like, Chef, like, I still sometimes struggle with the business operations side of things at times, or not saying like struggle, but you're still learning them. You're still getting more adapt to it.
Yep.
And again, that was even from the very beginning when we started speaking to each other and we started, kind of started a relationship. You mentioned that you're like, hey, the food part, that part is easy for me. Like that's the stuff that I could do second nature. But you were talking a little bit more about your business operations and kind of going in that direction. And you were kind of telling me that's where I feel like I struggle a little bit. And those are the things that I feel like I need to work on. Would you say that that's been part of not even necessarily your struggle, but would you say that it's part of your journey is getting out of your comfort zone and getting
Yeah,
into not only a business, but business operations?
it is. I mean, learning the business operations aspect of it is a journey. It's something that you got to keep on working at constantly, day after day. You don't stop. Um, so what will help you make you a better person, a better business owner, better chef. You know, to never give up. You stated something in a couple podcasts ago about Galatians 6:9 about never giving up. And casting, giving it all to God to lead the way, and He will put the people in your path to guide you into your business.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it?
It is.
It's so true. I think this is something that even today, I was telling you before the show, to be very transparent. I wasn't really feeling like I was having a good day. There was things that, I won't go into some of the challenges, but just different pressures and different things coming at me that, can get you overwhelmed. And then if you tie in a little bit of frustration into it, you tie in a little bit of something that makes you a little bit upset or angry, it all feels like it can come rushing in. And honestly, this podcast, even me interviewing you, is helping me in realizing that, again, our faith is found in the Lord. Our faith is found in God. It's not in everything that we do with our own two hands. Now, again, we've been given a brain, and we've been given a wisdom and knowledge, and our hands and our feet and things like that to work. And God doesn't expect us to be a dodo. Like He didn't create us, and He didn't create us to be dodo birds. So there's a level of us doing things, yes, but of course all of our supply, right, is from Him. And so I think that's just a reminder, not only for me, for you, but again, anybody listening and watching to this podcast, is like really understanding that at the deepest level of like, what is it really to be in stepping out? And what would you say, like, what would you say one of your most challenging obstacles you've had, not really in starting the business, like operationally or practically, but like mental wise? Like, what do you feel one of the biggest hurdles mentally in starting this business that maybe you can speak to people that are watching this? Maybe some people that are listening or watching to this are thinking they have these mental hurdles, these mental challenges that they're faced with in starting their business. Can you maybe pick one of the mental obstacles you've maybe had when starting your business that you felt like you've now overcame?
I think most people would say probably the fear of failure. Would be a hard
Mm,
journey to go through. But sometimes when God puts something in your heart, and when you've gone through all your ups and downs in this business, like I have, and been in this industry for 34 plus years, and I knew it was all preparation. I knew it was preparation on where He wanted me to go, which was to open up my own business.
I love it.
And I just had to take that. I just had to take that step of faith knowing that he was behind this, that he was the one that leading me to it. This is, the last job I had was with Wellmore of Daniel Island, and I was like, after I left them, it's like, you know what, that was my last test. That was my last test, and where he wanted me to grow and get to this point in my life, which is to open up my own business
I love
and
that.
help.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and just and hopefully that I can inspire other chefs that are wanting to open up their own business to follow their dream. Sometimes they have to be able to take that leap of faith and to trust in God's journey for you. It doesn't happen overnight, but once you take the work and the passion of work and taking that to God and giving it to God, He will lead you in the direction that He wants you to go.
I love that. I think that's very, very, very well said. And thank you for inspiring us on that. And that fear of failure, I think, is behind a lot of insecurities of ours as entrepreneurs, right? Like, and as people that are wanting to go and start to do something, we have this sometimes this innate fear of failure. And one of the things that, again, like, that's challenged me. And then sometimes we can have a fear of success as well. As weird as that sounds, there's levels of success that we can have a fear of. Maybe it's, as our companies grow, we sometimes feel like, will I be able to, am I fit to manage that? Am I fit to lead a team to grow it? Am I fit to, really manage and steward well what God is bringing in as blessings into the business, not just even financially, but with people and so forth and so on. And that's something that, we can get, I have moved on past personally, I've moved on past to a degree a fear of failure in that sense. But then I also get, I'm a human being. You get anxious. You get, for the longest time, the enemy would try to put in my mind like, hey, you're not good enough to lead this, or you're not good enough to do this, and so we all have these insecurities, I think. And I think it's really easy sometimes to stay hidden and not express these things. But sometimes we have to express these things. And I really give you kudos, Chef, on actually being very vulnerable that way and actually admitting that. Some people are like, yeah, I think it was just starting. How is it going to work out? Well, but you went straight to it. You're like, fear of failure, flat out, right? And the way that we can't fail is if we don't give up, right? And that's going back to that Galatians 6:9 scripture. Like, we have to keep pushing and we have to keep grinding. And it's not grinding using the word as like just grind it out. Like, we have to be grinding on the right things, of course. Like, maybe I'll use a metaphor chef wise. Like, if you're not grinding black pepper, you're not going to get a black pepper taste, right? Like, you could be grinding something, but it might be rocks. It might not be something that's good. So you have to also have that direction. And that's where wisdom and advisory and those types of things is. And you're part of our community. And I know that I personally mentored and coached you during this entire process. And I have to kind of declare this on the podcast because I was telling you before the show, I kind of gave you a little hint, but I wanted to reveal it here on the show just to make it more exciting, that your name actually gets brought up quite a bit in behind the scenes in Chefpreneur with the team. And let me tell you why. Okay. Because I want to give you a little bit of, I want to bless you today with some honor and some honestly, some praise, because, we talk about it. Me, Caitlin, the team, Heidi, we got a great team behind us. Right. And we were talking about you. We talk about you here and there because, number one, I told you this when I was coaching you, you had such a tenacity for like learning. Like, I don't get annoyed. I kind of do because I care about people's success. So I get annoyed for them, even though this should be them that should be annoyed with themselves. I sometimes get annoyed when I'm coaching people, when I'm like, really, really like, hey, we need to work on this. Like, let's get in this. Like, have you done this? And it's like, well, no, I didn't work on it. Or, it's very like, and again, it's their own success and they're, they have their own freedom and they're a grown person. But I do care about the people that we serve. I care about when Chefpreneur works with somebody that we're actually putting our best foot forward in. And I even remember, with everybody I coach, I make it very clear, like, hey, like, I'm going to give you 100% of what I got, but I expect the same from you. Right. And it's not for my benefit. It's for your benefit. Right. And so to give you that praise, like, I remember, and you're probably going to be sick of me telling this story because I've told it to you before, but I remember when I would assign you like, hey, go back and like, let's work on your cells, right? Like, let's work on that cells, like that sales conversation. And I remember you showing up and we did like a fake call, right? A mock call. And we went through this, like we went through it like a client, and you came pretty hardcore swinging out of the gates, knowing what you were talking about, and that showed me. I said, "Oh, you've been practicing," and you're like, "Yes, I have. I've been reading over this script day in day out until this call. Like I've been preparing myself." And it's something I know it sounds so simple and small to many people, but you have no idea that you're sharpening your tools in your knife bag that are not your knife. And a lot of people, to drop a little bit of wisdom on anybody listening or watching this, we spend so much time as chefs wanting to learn new recipes, wanting to learn new techniques, and all those things are great. And they definitely can add on to our repertoire and our experience. Yet we sometimes don't take that same tenacity and that same ambition and apply it to the other knives that you need to have in your tool bag when you're running a company: marketing, sales, communication, how to speak to somebody, right? How to speak to somebody properly. Um, all of those things. And I want to tell you, like in front of everybody and listening to this and watching this, like Tad is a amazing example role model of someone who we've coached that literally would spend hours and tons of time learning how to sell, going through the material, going through every finite detail and actually putting it to not only to work, but like trying to master it constantly. And I remember telling you, you're going to find success. No doubt. I would have put $1 million on it. I would have put a big bet on it, because somebody like that is not going to end up losing. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have tough times. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be ups and downs. We could talk about that till we turn blue in the face. That's just life. We have up and downs no matter how well we prepare, no matter how hard we work, we're going to have ups and downs. But we're always going to reach a level. And so I wanted to give you some praise on that. And again, behind the scenes, the team is always saying like, oh yeah, Tad wants this, Tad's asking this, Tad's, because we host your website as well, and it's like, hey, Tad wants this, or Tad's asking about this. I just love it. My team and I actually, we love that, because you're just paying attention and you're like in it. You're like in it to win it. You're like, what else can we do? What else can we do? Like, you're relentless. I see you in our private thread in the university, and you're the same there. You're sharing every win. You're sharing the dinner that you just did, which maybe we could talk about because it's pretty exciting. You shared all these things, and you're inspiring, but at the same time, I love how you're celebrating every moment, and then you're diving in to get as much as you can. And so I just want to give you, like, in front of everybody, like, praise, because that just tells me that not only are you serious, and if any of your clients are listening or watching this, which I hope you share all across your social media, like, Chef Tad is going to bring that same ambition and tenacity to serving you and your family that he does to strive to be the best businessman, chefpreneur, owner of a business that you've already heard him say has been called by God to start, that I truly believe. And you're going to bring, like, that's your whole heart, is you're going to bring 110% to everything that you do. And so if you're a client out there in the Charleston area and you're trying to, looking to hire a chef at one point, you cannot go wrong with Chef Tad here. He's going to give you, him and his team are going to give you 110%. So I know I'm gloating a little bit about you, Tad, but I had to do it today. I've been planning it, and I'm excited to give it to you. So I just wanted to give you that praise and honor, brother.
I truly appreciate that. It means a lot.
So now, Tad, what we'd like to do in the podcast is we kind of go through, and thank you for opening up about your background and things. And I'd like you to maybe, flip the script a little bit and ask me any questions that you have for me, anything that I can help not only you out in the business, but maybe just even whatever questions, whether they're personal, whether they're, business related. I'd like to open you up to a little bit on the floor to say, hey, like, let's drill into Chef Andres and ask away.
Well, I mean, I know, as being chefs and being in the industry as long as we have, I think the hardest thing, with getting into your own business is the clients. Getting clients in there and learning about the clients and getting them in there. I'm definitely getting more clients nowadays. I'm getting more recognition. I guess being in the Charleston community, there's so many different other chefs. So getting my niche out there is key. So what would you say how did you get your clients, and how did you get your niche out to the community, so that they get to know who you are, and as a person, as a chef, and as your food wise?
That's a great question. So really, there's two questions of that. So I've learned a lot since I've started my business. I've learned much more about it than when I first began. And I learned a lot in the first 5 years of my company, which obviously inspired Chefpreneur to help other people. We did use strategic partnerships. That was the biggest way I grew my business.
Right.
Um, what is happening? The industry is always shifting. Every industry is always shifting, right? So there's never like part of business is that you're staying consistent until you can't anymore. I mean, I hate to say it that way. It's like you have to stay consistent to your principles. You have to stay consistent to what you're doing. But then a lot of times you're aiming at times with a business to a moving target. Things are always going to shift, right? It just will. Um, and it's not like I'm saying anything about laws or politics or anything like that to a degree, but like even when there's political changes, even when there's laws changes, even when there's economy issues, like everything ebb and flows to where it's constantly moving. And your job is to try to be a step ahead. And the reason I'm going a little bit back in a backstory of this, because it's not just a simple question anymore to say, how do you get more clients? That question can be answered in multiple ways. Of course, marketing that's the straight up answer. But it's how you actually market and what you're actually doing. Is it relevant, and is it where it needs to be right now currently? So when I started Dinner with a Chef, I was heavily relied on strategic partnerships. And strategic partnerships built my company. We partnered with some major people that where they were sending us quite a bit of clients. Now, what's funny is that as the website was becoming more, I guess you would say, popular, meaning that people were visiting my website, people were seeing me more as kind of in the stage that you're at, this started to create traction with people locally when they were searching for personal chefs to find me. Okay. So a website is very important. In fact, like, is it necessary to get clients? No. I've talked about that many times on the podcast. But is it almost to a degree where it's almost necessary? If you're going to be serious about it, I would say it's probably necessary if you're going to be serious about your business. Okay, so that's the first thing is like you need to establish the business first before you even try to attempt marketing if you're wanting to be serious about starting a business. Okay, that's just number one. Okay, which you already have. So if I'm kind of speaking to the audience, but at the same time speaking to you, right? Step two is once you have that establishment, like I said, it's using the strategies of marketing to bring in the leads. But before we do that, you kind of want to make sure that your sales process is dialed in. Okay. And that's even what I was giving you some credit right now. I remember telling you when we were coaching you, like, this is the most important skill that you can learn. Now, the second most important skill is probably definitely marketing. But the first most important skill is sales, because you can put so much effort into marketing, bring people to your doorstep, have them put inquiries on your website, sending you email inquiries, calling you, whatever, finding you online. And if you can't get them to become a client, it's kind of the marketing efforts kind of go away. They go by the wayside. Like it won't mean anything. Does that make sense? Like the conversion won't be there, right? Like, consider this. Let's use some metaphors here. Consider this for the audience. It's like buying the best ingredients possible, putting them in the walk-in, putting them in the fridge, and then just letting them rot to where you have to throw them away. Like there was no reason to bring the best quality product into your hands and then you not using it, letting it spoil, and now you can't use it and you throw it away. Well, it's similar to that with leads. When you bring leads into a business, it's no good unless you have a mechanism like a sales process that then takes them and converts them from a lead into giving you, the deposit and becoming a client. Okay. So that's the second thing. Like, I know this is not marketing yet, but I'm just trying to tell you, like, I know that you're at a stage in your business where you're just needing, like, now you're in the marketing stage where you're just wanting to market, right? Okay. On the flip side, it's really about going from that mechanism of sales making sure that's established. But you're in the stage now where I'm getting to, but I'm just trying to kind of talk for different people, for our audience, so that they know the stages here. When it comes to regards to going through and now marketing, now once you have your business established, you have a sales process to convert those leads into clients. Now you focus on marketing, and there's really several ways of marketing, but they all kind of play off each other. So you need to look at marketing, Chef Tad, as like a big funnel. Okay. And you want to bring more people to the top of this funnel. And then as they go through the funnel, they go through basically the marketing process, but then they end up going through the sales process. And at the very end of the funnel is them being a paid customer. Okay. So the question is, how do we bring more people to the funnel? And then again, we put them into the funnel, which is part marketing, but that's where marketing kind of hands off to the sales process. Okay. So there's two separate ways of marketing. Number one is what they call organic marketing. That's going to be you posting on social media. That's going to be you posting on Facebook, on LinkedIn, TikTok, wherever you're wanting to do organic, kind of like getting organic traffic and leads coming in, or like awareness. Okay. Then in that context, you have paid advertising. We'll get into that in a minute, but then there's paid advertising. Okay. And I'm going to tell you some of the pros and cons about really how to do, like, not how to do these, because that'd be a whole nother, 10 hours, but in the sense of like what you're doing, as far as like, these are the ways that mechanisms that you market, right? Then there's email marketing. We'll talk about that. And then in the personal chef space, there's strategic partnerships. So those are like the four kind of areas that you could be marketing your business constantly. The problem and the issues that you face is it feels very overwhelming when you're doing all four, especially when you're a chefpreneur like you and you're one person. You don't have a team behind you of 10 people doing all this stuff for you, right? So you have to be choosy and picky about what you want to do. And anything in life that you're doing in your business is going to have two investments. Sometimes it's heavier on one and light on the other. Sometimes it's heavier on this other one and lighter over here. Sometimes it's kind of heavy on both, depending on what you're doing. And really, anytime that you invest in your business, you're going to either invest time or you're going to invest money, right? So in order to learn marketing, you need to either invest in someone to market for you, depending on what area you want to market. And again, this is now saying, like, bear with me, I'm going somewhere here. Either you invest your time learning how to do those and then invest your time in doing them, or you invest your money in learning how to do them, so you learn faster and then do them. Then there's other things where it's like you invest only your money to acquire someone to kind of learn how to do them, and then invest money to have somebody do them for you that knows how to do them better than you. And really, that's like anything in life, right? Everything from somebody hiring you as a personal chef to hiring, somebody to come clean their house, right? And it's like, most of us know how to clean a house, know how to clean, but like, it's really more of again, saving time and things like that. So I'm giving you a big marketing lesson here, and even to the audience, because strategic partnerships is how I built my company. Eventually, I got what they call natural search traffic to my website, because my website now has been established for plus 10 years. So it gets a lot of traffic and it ranks really high. When someone searches Personal Chef San Diego or whatever, it ranks higher. So we get leads from our website, of course. We also get leads from our partnerships as well. But in the very beginning, that's really how I built the business. Now, over time, we started building a referral base, because clients locally started finding us when they're searching, and then they started reusing us. So in your specific case, if I had to look at it and say, what is the best use of your time in marketing? It's probably going to be two things. Okay. And then you're going to start sprinkling in the other. Okay. So number one, it's definitely going to be partnerships, because you're still within a year of your business and you're still establishing it. And strategic partnerships help not only to bring leads, obviously that's the ultimate goal, but it brings a lot of awareness because you're kind of going to some of the big fish in your city and saying, hey, I exist over here. And those people have a network of their own that they can start to spread in their own network about your business. Does that make sense so far?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So what it does is it casts like a broad brand awareness net. Now, eventually the brand can bring in leads, but a brand awareness is not always necessarily just bringing in leads. Sometimes it's trust. Sometimes it's, again, like you said, how do I get them to know me? That's what it is. So what you do is you take your person that you're trying to market to, your customer. You just recently did an amazing event. You said they were amazing people. Would you say, in a very simple answer, would you say the people that you just served for, I think you did an event for 19 people, which was an amazing event. We were talking about it before the show and you pretty much brought in $2,000 in your pocket. Would you say that those would be ideal clients that you would like to serve in the future? If more people were like them, you would really love that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. So once you get a first client that you serve, which that's not your first client, but I'm saying once you get a client, when we came up in your strategy session about like profiling your ideal customer, you already had a concept of that. And so then you try to guess when you're just starting out, you kind of guess who is that person according to what I want to be known for, what my business is all about. And again, we walked you through that all in your strategy session here when you came down to Atlanta. But from there, once you start actually providing services to clients, what happens is you now have a better persona and understand who your client is better. Because now you have this person who you just served, and you're like, well, if I can just replicate that client and find more people like them, of course, they're not going to all be identical. You know what I mean? But the same kind of spirit, the same kind of heart, the same kind of values. Like if you take them now as your ideal customer, then you ask yourself with the strategic partnership side, what services do those people use and where do they hang out so I can start associating myself and networking with the services that they use as well. So if this person is like, XYZ belongs to this club and they're in this club or they're in this business society, or maybe if you're noticing that there's a trend where 3 out of the 5 people in the last month are like entrepreneurs, are they part of BNI groups? Are they part of other groups? Like, well, then it's like, well, I should go where they're hanging out so I can cast my hook, cast my net in the waters where the other schools of fish like them are hanging out. Okay. So like it's about reverse engineering a little bit about like where are they at so I can go associate myself with the people where they're hanging out and other people that they're hanging out with. Okay. So that's really what partnerships are. And again, it's like, vacation rental companies, maybe event coordinators, all types of those. There's the list actually is very, very long, but just giving a few. Now, the second thing I would think you should focus on is emails. Okay. Because at the end of the day, emails is what people that have already booked you, especially locals, if it's like getting in front of them every single week and reminding them that they can book you again, reminding them that you're here, reminding them of the great time they even had. Doesn't mean that you're sending them an email about their legitimate event. I mean, although you can write an email about that, but those marketing emails are now keeping the relationship going that they already established, right? So it's like, man, we had a great time on the phone. We did the walkthrough of the sales process. And you know what I'm talking about? If you follow the Chefpreneur method, people will end up feeling like they're already getting the experience that you want them to have, even with the sales call, right? Even with the consultation. They start creating this relationship. Then the relationship goes to a climatic aspect where then you show up, you deliver this amazing 4-course dinner like you did. I even saw like check out Tad's, social media, because he actually went like live and kind of had them like tell a real life, testimonial, which was really amazing. So they get into this high where you deliver this service. And then it's like, but then if you go back and don't talk to them again, it's like as if like you had a really great date with someone and then just you didn't call them ever again. And they feel like, what's going on? Now, consciously, I don't think that the client's going to sit back there and saying, Tad hasn't called me, weird. Like, I hate the guy now. No, but in a business way, like you got to stay in front of them and remind them like that you're there. Right. Social media. Now let's dive into that. So that's the second thing I would really make sure you have in place is a consistent email marketing. And that should be for people, not only like eventually you'll have people on your email list, but people, and you could grow an email list. We won't dive into that, but like even just your existing people that have already served you, which might be even if it's a small list, it doesn't matter. Create the routine of being in front of them once a week, sending them an email, and so forth. And of course, we've trained you in Chefpreneur, like how to do that and all that stuff. But that's the second. Now, social media again kind of acts like not paid advertisement. We'll get that to that last, but social media you can still definitely bring in leads through social media, but it's also like social media is like brand awareness and to be honest, sometimes re-inviting people back in to use you that already used you. So again, you're sending emails to clients that you've already served. But then if the clients start following you on their Instagram, because they're usually tagging you during dinner, you might be doing the interview, you're tagging them, right? They start following you. Well, then when you start promoting things on social media, it's again kind of doing the same thing as emails. You're reminding them and you're in front of them constantly to put content out to remind them that you're there, to remind them that they can use you, as well as attracting some new people. Now, the only thing I don't like, in all due respect to, not that I don't like, but one of the cons about social media, like organic, what they call organic, like non-paid, is that you don't know if half your followers are from New York City and they just for some reason start following you because they like to see your beautiful Southern charmed face, right? I mean, now if they're ever down in the Charleston area, like I'm sure they'll look you up and they'll call you, right? They'll schedule a consultation, but you don't really know if your follower base is going to be really like your clients that you're actually able to serve in Charleston, right? So that's a little bit of a con, but it still brings up brand awareness. I mean, it doesn't mean that people that are local not looking at you either, right? But I'm just saying, like, social media followers is not the if all be all. I think that social media having a large following, there's definitely a lot of power, but it also depends on the services that you provide. If you provide a service that's very local like yours, it doesn't really matter if you have 15,000 followers in the UK because you're not serving the UK. You're not, unless one of them is super rich and just wants to book you and send you over the pond and go cook for them for a week. But majority of people are not going to be booking you from the UK, obviously, right? So like it's a hit and miss. Now, the last thing I will say is paid advertising. Paid advertising is a different skill set to learn. And this is where it's a specific kind of skill set to learn. It can become a little bit more tech and complicated at times. But the idea and strategy of it is actually very easy in the sense of it's very effective because you're paying and you're telling whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram. Now you're paying them and saying, I want to find people like the client I just served, his demographics, his interest, his behaviors. I want to find more people like him or her, and I want you to put my advertisement in front of them. So when they get on Instagram, they just see a paid advertisement and it's to the right people. Like you can literally tell Facebook, Instagram, Google, I want you to put it in front of these people. With Google, they'll put it out through, basically YouTube. They'll present it in front of YouTube, in front of people that are watching YouTube. If you have what they call a click ad on Google, it's like a search ad. So when someone types in personal chef Charleston's, South Carolina, like you can pay to tell Google when someone types that in, present my ad. Okay. So it's more directed, but of course there's an investment in that. And so those are like the 4 areas of what you should have as far as marketing systems. But again, all that sounds overwhelming. You're like, Chef, that sounds like a full-time job to do for my company. And I'm also cooking and I'm also taking calls and I'm also managing my bank account and I'm also managing my team and my staff, right? I mean, it's like you're wearing 16 different hats. Unfortunately, that's what entrepreneur is. So in your case, Chef Tad, I would say it's strategic partnerships, it's email marketing. When you want to make the move into saying, what is going to be the fastest way to bring me more leads? Not the cheapest because you're going to have to pay for it, but the fastest way to do it would be with paid advertising. Now, There is other aspects as well where you can get leads from other places, and that would be such things as some of these other platforms, right? Thumbtack, Take a Chef, Fash, Bark. There's quite a bit of professional, what they call professional platforms now, where a lot of times you still have to pay for the lead. Not all those platforms have you pay for the lead, but they, a lot of them do, like Fash, Bark, Thumbtack. They all charge for the service as far as like to reply back to a lead that comes in through there. I won't get into the pros and cons. These are probably some of the videos I'm going to record for the channel of just explaining the different, what are some of the pros and cons of each of these platforms. So that's another option. Technically, it's still kind of like paid advertising, but you're just kind of plugging into their platform and people are finding you on their platform and you're able to respond by paying money to say, I want to talk to this potential client. Okay. So you're still kind of paying for a lead, but it at least eliminates a lot of the fuzziness of like, I got to go out and learn how to do paid advertising on Facebook, which can be very technically a little bit more difficult. Okay. So in your case, strategic partnerships and networking in that way, make sure that you're trying to get in front of your current clients that you served before and basically be in front of them to say, hey, like, book me again, right? You're not saying it that way, but I'm saying by sending emails and being in front of them, you're constantly top of mind. And eventually they're like, hey, I had such a good time, with my wife's birthday in January. And then they're getting emails all the time. And then his birthday's in March. And now an email you send out in the end of February, he's like, you know what? Maybe we should reach out to Tad and do another dinner with him. Like, it was amazing. Like, boom. But unfortunately, you would think that your clients will remember you forever. But unfortunately, they see so many messages, so many emails. We all get them. You have to constantly be reminding them that you're there. Right. And so I hope that was probably a little bit more of an answer of what you wanted, but like, I know you have a hefty goal of getting to 16 events a month, and we've already talked about levels of revenue that you're trying to achieve. And when you do paid advertising, again, it's a whole nother beast, but at the same time, that's where you can look at the calculations and say, well, if I invest X and I'm seeing that my X is returning Y, well, then it's easier because it's a little bit more consistent on like every time I put this much money into it, I feel like I get this many leads, right? And so now you can start to calculate, and with a personal chef business, it's going to be very profitable. But it just depends on if you want to learn it yourself and do it. You still just you need money just for the advertisement. But then if you hire somebody, you'll probably pay them their fee, and then you still need money for advertisement. But either way, it could definitely just, it's usually profitable if it's done right, for sure. But it's a lot quicker because it's in front. It gets the right message in front of the right person, like almost every single time, because you're telling the system, you're telling Facebook and Instagram, put this ad in front of this people, and it goes out and finds them.
Yeah, I think the best thing is, definitely picking your battles and which way you want to achieve your goals, and maybe do them in segments so that way it's not overwhelming. So, like the ultimate goal of having 16 clients per month. That's my ultimate goal. Making ways to strive towards that through using my partnerships, through my social medias. I mean, doing all those little tasks every single week to get there to reach that goal.
And you'll get there.
Yep.
And eventually you'll like keep plugging away at what you're doing. Always remember, and here's what they think. There's a really good book called Guerrilla Marketing, if anybody ever wants to read it, and is designed to kind of prospectively give you a mindset shift. Believe it or not, Tad, there is advantages of you being kind of in a way a chefpreneur, but also what they call a solopreneur, where it's like kind of just you right now, right, in your business. There's advantages that you have that like someone like Coca-Cola doesn't. As weird as that sounds, right? Like Coca-Cola cannot call and hire someone to call every single person on the phone, like through the phone, that have bought Coca-Cola. They would need like a third of the world as staff to do that. Okay, like they can't do that, right? But Chef Tad, or anybody listening to this, you probably have a list of maybe 50 people in your business, or 10 people, or 15 clients. It doesn't matter. Those paying customers, Right now, you could just do what they call guerrilla marketing, and you don't have to automate anything. You don't have to use a system for it. You just pull out this thing called a phone. You just pull out your phone and you literally just text them. Happy New Year. Hope you're doing well. I enjoyed serving you, back in October. Just wanted to say God bless, right? Like staying in contact with them, right? Like you have the ability to do that where large companies, in a way, they have to do it with robots. They have to do it with automating. They have to hire somebody full time for that. It's hard for them to do those things. With you, it's not, right? And so, like, when you think about it, even if you had a list of 100 clients and you have their phone numbers, well, then you just make part of your routine that I'm going to call, 5 or 6 or text, 10 of them every week, because I'm not sitting to sit there and text them all day. But listen, if you're sitting there and you're like, I got to work on my business today, well, I'm going to text 25 out of my 100 people today. And then the next day, you text 25. And then people start replying you back, thank you so much, Chef Ted. Yes, we had a wonderful time. It's like, well, by the way, we have a promotion going on. Just if you're wondering, blah, 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 blah. Or I would love to serve you guys again. Please let me know when the next opportunity is, or any other special occasions you're maybe looking to celebrate this year. Like whatever you lead into, what does it do? Oh my gosh, like actually, my daughter-in-law is having a baby shower. Like, would you be able to do a baby shower and help out with that? Absolutely. Like, let's set up a consultation. Well, I have time today at 4 to call. Boom. Now you like, and they already know you, right? So it's not like, especially past clients, like they've already used you. They had a great experience. Now, maybe don't text and call the people that didn't have a good experience, which I don't think that's the case with you, but like, maybe don't text those people like, this guy 1 star. And then you text them, hey, I want to help you again. They're like, go fly a kite. So, those types of things are like, so that's what they call guerrilla marketing. You can, send them a message, you can pick up the phone and call, you can email them, all types of things. You could DM them in Instagram. If you don't have their contact, maybe someone's inquired about your services through Instagram. You don't have their email or information, but you can send them a voice message. You can send them a little Instagram video. Hey, Rebecca, just wanted to like send you a little message today. Happy New Year. I know you were inquiring about some services last year, but, just wanted to just send you a Happy New Year and tell you a Happy New Year from, Southern Hospitality Chefs and myself personally, Chef Tad. Hope you have a great day, Rebecca. Boom. Like you still got some level of interaction with them, and that's called guerrilla marketing. So you can get in the nooks and crannies, and sometimes we just don't want to go there. We don't want to pick up the phone because of insecurities or whatever. That's another podcast too. But that's another way. You could just kind of do it guerrilla style. Like you're just, again, the book is factored off of guerrilla marketing is because of guerrilla warfare, right? Like, man, I don't want to bring up, some of the bad times in the past of the United States, but the Vietnam War was not exactly like a success with how many lives were lost and everything else. But they were having a tough time because we were trained in one way, but the people that were in Vietnam were able to maneuver through the jungle, and they knew things that we didn't. And so they didn't have to have a whole army. They had to have a select few that just knew the jungle, and they were able to, unfortunately, combat us pretty well. And that's why that book is called that. It's like, we're able to do things that big companies can't do because they have to work as these big entities, and we can get in the little details and work small, but work smart. That makes sense?
Oh, yeah. Definitely very, very helpful.
Awesome, man. Does that answer your question? I know that was a very long question I answered, but awesome, Chef. Well, Chef, I want to say thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. It really meant a lot to me for you to be on. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we log off here soon today?
No, just people that are looking to open up their own business or have a dream, don't stop. Follow your dream. God's got a reason for you to do something in life, and just follow your dream to follow it. And always remember to live, love, and eat.
I love it, man. Well, what a blessing having you on, Chef Tad. And if you're listening to this on, again, Spotify, Apple podcast, or iTunes basically, or Google Play or anything like that, or Google Podcast, I believe, go ahead and subscribe to us. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, like this video, share it, hit that bell notification for to be notified when we go live, as well to be notified for any new videos that we put out. We are hosting an in-person sales workshop coming up in February 27th, and we'll put the link in the description below if you want to check that out. There's only 25 spots available, and I believe we have 12 people already enrolled to that. And so we'd love, at the time that we're recording this podcast, but we'd love for you to join us here in Atlanta. It's going to be an amazing day event. We're going to take you through the entirety of learning how to actually put that sales process in place that I was telling Chef Tad about today and the rest of you. So if you guys want more information on that, you can click below. But again, thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.